Hello and welcome everybody, it's Karen. I've got 3 cards for you today. I thought I would try to make a few different cards using these pretty much the same supplies. So that's the gnome for the holiday stamp set, and I've stamped and colored up some of those gnomes. And then I'm going to use the Simple Sentiment Strips Holidays stamp set as well for some of my sentiments. And then this beauty is the Elegant Snowflakes and Border Dies. And then I'm also going to be using some of these Blissful Blue 6x6 papers for a couple of my cards today. So I've trimmed this one down to be a 5.5 inch square card. I've die cut the border here, the snowflake border, and I want to add my sentiment right along that curve that you see on the border. So I've put it in my stamp positioner and I'm just shaping the ends of that stamp to curve around that line, so you can see it there, and I just silver heat embossed it. So now I'm just attaching that to my card with glue and adding a few of these snowflakes, and I've popped that gnome up on some foam tape and just added a few pearls, and that was this card. Super quick and simple. So the second card, I've got some more of the snowflakes, and you can see I'm just spreading them around on the front of my A2 sized card here. Now my idea is to have that gnome down in the lower right hand corner, so I'm going to add the snowflakes all over, but I won't need to add them to that right hand corner. So I've got some glue on my glass mat and a sponge, and I find that the easiest way to glue up the backs of the snowflakes. But here you can see I'm positioning a circle die, and I've die cut out that semicircle, and I've also cut a little silver frame which I am now attaching to that semicircle. Now here I've put it onto my card base and I've penciled in where that circle goes because, again, I wanted my sentiment to follow that curve. It seems to be the theme of this video, but I'm just going to put that in my stamp positioner and again just curve and shape that stamp around to kind of follow where that line would go, and I've got the pencil mark so I can keep closing my stamp positioner and checking on the shaping of it. And so once I had that silver heat embossed, I erased the pencil marks, and I've put my card front on foam, as you can see, foam tape, and I'm just gluing that down to the card base and gluing in that little gnome into that opening. And all I did was add a few clear gems to this one. So another pretty quick and easy card. Okay, so this is the third one. Now, if you've watched me before, you know I kind of like these fun fold cards or interactive cards, so that's what I'm doing with this one. So essentially, this is just a gatefold card, and I've added 3 strips to it. Now, you could add 2 strips, you could try 4 strips if you'd rather. I went with 3, just because I have the 2 gnomes and a sentiment. So it's super easy, guys. My card is 5 3/4 inches tall by 11 inches wide. And I'm going to score that at 2 3/4 inches and at 8 1/4 inch. And so this is just a simple gatefold at this point. That's all it is. So I'm going to fold both of those in as you would for a gatefold, so you can see it there. And then I will burnish both of those fold lines. So the only thing that makes this any different from a normal gatefold is I've got 3 pieces of 1 3/4 inch by 5.5 inch wide card, and some of that I got from that extra piece of 8.5 by 11 that I had cut down. So these don't need scoring, but I was just showing you all 3 are the same size, and this is how they're going to go on the card front. They will be evenly spaced across the front of the card. Now I've cut some of this paper down to mat those strips. Now I think I took 1/8 of an inch off on the width and the length of these, but mat them however you like them matted. If you like a bigger white border, then take a bit more off. Okay, so to attach these, I've put the first one on, I've lined it up on the left side edge and a little bit down from the top, as you can see there. And I'm just tacking this in place on the right hand side. Now I am going to glue this on the left, but I find this the easiest way to know where to glue it. So I open it up, and whatever's left there on that tab is what needs to be glued down to cover the left hand side. So I'll just let that set up before I remove that low tack tape. And then I find it easiest to do the bottom one. So I sort of space it as evenly apart as I did with the first one. I'm lining it up with the left hand edge. And again, I'll tack this down in place on the right hand edge, which is now down at the bottom there. And so once I have that, attached, I can open this up and add my glue to that side again. Now, for the middle one, you could have it all coming off on the left-hand side. I just chose to make it on the right, whatever you like, obviously. But so I'm just centering that between the other two, and now I will tack this one down on the left-hand side. And when I open it up, what's exposed in the middle is what is going to get glued. And so I'll add that, and then I'll close it up and attach it on that right-hand side. Now, I've cut this Merry Christmas. I've used the Fun with Words die one set, and I had all the letters in that set except the C and the T. So from the word laugh, which is in that set, I took the G and the H. Now the G, I'm just trimming off that little horizontal piece, and there's my C for Christmas. And then the H becomes the T. So I'm going to take it, and I'm very awkwardly cutting this, I know, sorry guys. But I am just cutting off that bottom horizontal piece there. So I've got it turned on its side, and I'll remove the bottom. And then just that one right hand top piece is a little bit long, so I'm going to trim that off a little bit. And that becomes the T. So I like that one better, so I removed the one I had cut, and I'm putting that one in the middle. So that's how I got Merry Christmas. Now I'm using some Distress Mica Spray Stain in Winter Frost, and I'm just spritzing that on right over those letters, and then I set that aside to dry. And while it was drying, I got my snowflakes, and this is some Stickles glue that is really old. As you can see, there's hardly any left, and it's going to just dry up in my bottle. So I've squeezed some out on my glass mat, and I'm just using a spatula to apply that over top of the snowflakes, just to give them a little bit of shine. And I set those aside to dry. And so now my letters were dry, and I've put them on a sticky mat, and I lined them up on that bottom black line there, and I just wanted to make sure they fit across the width of my card. And so I was in luck, and so I've got a little piece of Glad Press and Seal that I'm putting on top of those letters, and then I can remove them all in one go. Now you could use low-tack tape if you don't have Glad Press and Seal, but I'm adding glue to the back of the letters, and then I will put these down on my card, hopefully fairly straight, because they were straight on that sticky mat. So just putting those down, and then I did give these a minute or two to set up, and then I removed the release paper or the press and seal. And so all that was left now was to glue on my images and a few of those snowflakes, and this could be the finished card. It could totally be the whole card, but I wanted more, so I just have to make it harder. I've still got this one little gnome, and I thought it would be really fun to put him on a pop-up box in the corner. So I've got a little strip of scrap cardstock that is a 1/2 inch wide by about 4 inches long, and I chose that 1/2 inch width and the length because that width of that gnome is just over 1 inch, and so it's 4 inches, so that will divide into 4 evenly. So I am folding this in half. I was making a bunch of these, and I got sick of scoring them. But you could score these each at 1 inch, but I'm just folding it in half and folding it in half again, and that gives me 4 even little tabs. And then I'm going to fold them all in the same direction, and they will make a nice little square when it's all glued together. So you can see that there. So you could just put that in your scoreboard and score every inch if you'd rather. But I'm going to put some glue on the very first tab here, and I'm going to put this down in the corner where that fold line is. Now you want it to butt right up against that fold line, but I did want this to come in just under that gnome's nose there. So I'm sort of eyeballing where I'm going to put this, and I'm pressing it right up into that fold line, and I want to make sure that I haven't crossed that line, so if I fold my card up it should still fold nice and easily. And then I'll fold it in half again and put glue on that very last tab there, just at the end there. And then I will hold that down so it's nice and flat, and just close the card and it will pick it up where it needs to be picked up. And then I just let that set up for a minute or so. And there you have your little pop-up mechanism. And so now I can glue this gnome right down onto that. Now I didn't really account for the lights when I did this, so you'll see I have to take a bit of glue out from the left there because otherwise it was just going to be exposed, so that's all I'm doing there. And then he just attaches just under his beard. He's not a big guy or anything, and he's pretty protected inside that card, so that's all that's holding him in place. And then I'm just adding a snowflake, and you can see I've added one of those simple sentiment strips, holiday stamps. So that's the inside of the card. Now you can see that square mechanism there. When the card closes, he folds nice and flat. So there's no extra bulk there at all. But it's kind of fun to open the card and have him pop out at you. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope I've given you some ideas on how to use those really cute gnomes.